Professor Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System, annotated, revised, and edited by Professor Spira, is a complete course for those who desire to take their health into their own hands.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm Professor Spira, and we have a very special discussion session organized for you today. Special guest, we have Tony Baliby, practitioner of the Mucusless Diet, and we have nutritional healing. And so, first, let's ask nutritional healing. Kind of love to hear a little bit of your backstory. How you used to eat and your whole kind of transition to the higher levels of consciousness and understanding health and healing and all of that good stuff.
Okay. Thank you. I want to first thank you for inviting me onto this show. It is my pleasure to share my experiences about health and healing and where I have, what I have done in the past and where I am at now. So I say thank you. My name is Nutritional Healing, as you just mentioned, and in 2008 is when I basically did my transition, into a healthier lifestyle. Before so, of course, I was eating unhealthy. I was eating a lot of flesh. I was tired all the time. I was, my menstrual cycle was heavy. My energy levels was like, and when I say energy levels, I'm speaking about like my attitude was like very snappy, such as an animal, because I was eating animal byproducts. So I was surrounded by people that was transitioning into a healthier lifestyle. And at first they were forced this healthy lifestyle onto me and was like, you should change. And I'm like, no, I do not want to change. Because one thing that I know from experience is that you cannot change anyone. People have to want to change on their own. You can implement it, you can share it, you can give them as much information that they want, but if they are not ready to change, they will not. So with that being said, one day, as a result of me seeing their changes, how they was more happier, some of the things that we used to do, we didn't do anymore because of their diet. So one day I spoke with one of the sisters that was there, and I said to her, you stopped eating, flesh, right? You changed your diet. And she was like, yes, very nice and gentle. And I was like, how do you feel? And she was like, I feel good. And the way she said it, it was just like an epiphany for me, like, wow, what do you have to lose, Why do you not want to change into a healthier lifestyle? You do know that, eating animal products is not compatible to your body, so what do you have to lose? So I said to myself, nothing. So I said, okay, well, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to eliminate the flesh. I'm going to try to eliminate the dairy. I'm going to try to eliminate everything that is not compatible with my genetic makeup. And once I made that commitment to myself, which was in 2008, I never went back. So as a result of now being in a new cycle in my life, I did lots of research on health and healing and things of that nature. And then I got in tune. Well, the ancestors opened up the doors for me to take advantage of the Dr. Africa classes that he offers. And as a result, I am a holistic nutritional consultant certified by Dr. Africa. And then as a result of that, I started writing and I started teaching myself, and then I started sharing a lot of information. And the positive feedback that I received from so many people of all over the world, basically, is so rewarding to me. And this is where I'm at now, you know, basically helping people, teaching people, healing people with natural herbs that are compatible with our, you know, genetic makeup, non-hybrid herbs, learning, teaching, you know, and basically consulting people. So it just all started from, you know, basically wanting to change. You have to want to change. You have to want to be better. You know, you have to claim your health. So that's my story.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's a great story. I definitely agree that you know, you have to want to change. And I've noticed that, you know, there's some of us that are awakened to the point where when we do get exposed to this information, that it kind of wakes us up. You know, we kind of know it's for us, and that was kind of what happened with me. 'Cause I was like 280 pound, the biggest gluttonous eater that you would come across, you know. And I had tried all the diets and stuff, and I used to work out a lot because I was like a varsity football player. And but I had all kinds of bronchitis, and it was coughing up all kinds of nasty stuff all the time, and terrible constipation, and just a whole host of issues. Chronic migraines that might have been the worst thing, because migraines are no joke, you know. And I used to have them almost every day. And so when I got exposed to the diet thing kind of through a guy named Brother Air. He was like practicing Mucusless Diet Healing System for the past 35 years. But I was trying to pursue music, and we ended up hooking up sort of with music first, and then we ended up, he told us about the Mucusless diet, and I was kind of like, and kind of in the way that you said that you would talk to somebody, and it was kind of the way they said what they said. It wasn't necessarily the content of what they said, it's how they said it, and you knew it was real. Like, all right, okay, I feel you. That was the way it was with Brother Eric, because he had told me that he went an entire year eating nothing but fruit, and he was talking, and at that time he hadn't yet did his 8.5 month fast, but he had done a lot of like 100-day fast and just a ton of fasting. But I wasn't even as keyed in on that as when he told me that he went an entire year eating nothing but fruit. Something in my head clicked, because I was like, that makes sense, because if there's any species on this planet that have the potential to eat and survive on nothing but fruit, I would imagine it would be humans. You know, the most, you know, if we're supposed to be the crown of creation, then why not humans? You know, why wouldn't we be able to eat nothing but fruit and live in that? So that really kind of captivated me, and I ended up doing like a 2-week long apple fast, which I did what I tell other people not to do. Don't go and just start doing these fasts without having read the book. You know, in our case, it's Mucusless Diet Healing System. You know, don't just go off and. But a lot of people do that. They go and do a water fast, or they go and do these kind of like, okay, I'm gonna just eat nothing but fruit, and it's kind of, and a lot of people have a real negative reaction to that. They end up eliminating too much waste, and they get real sick, and they don't know how to, because they don't know the principles of the transition and the mechanics of the system, so they don't know what to do, and they don't understand why they got sick. They just thought they could go eat fruit and live, you know. But with me, it kind of worked. It was almost like it pushed me further. So by the time I did get the book and I read it, then even more stuff was clicking. It was like, oh wow, there's a whole, it was like a method to the madness in terms of like a real systematic process on how to eat, and how to think about eating, and how to kind of think about the cleansing process and the process of elimination in the body and stuff. And I was like, and I could tell this was very different from anything else that was out there, because it challenged a lot of the core fundamental foundational concepts that people, no matter how, it's kind of like even the people in the holistic side of things, like it was challenging stuff they were saying, and it was kind of like cutting through all that. So just on that point, I'm like, okay, well, this is something I can kind of, like, I can feel this, I'm seeing how this sort of operates. So I started doing it, and I lost like 110 pounds and ended up, getting over the chronic migraine headaches and, all that kind of stuff. And, in a relatively short period of time. And then it was, I don't know, I guess it was around 2000. I'd been into the diet for several years. I did, it was either 2005, 2006 when I did my first, no, wait a minute, when was it? I forget. I did, after being into the diet for maybe 2.5 or 3 years, I did my first long fast, because I'd seen Brother Air do the 8.5 month fast. And then I was like, I didn't set out to do a long fast, but that was one thing that I really learned from watching the dynamics of what was going on in that period where Brother Air was fasting, was everybody was plugging into one another, and there was this, it was almost like a battery. You know how a battery works, where it kind of, it charges itself, and there's like these energy centers, and it kind of charges itself. And that's really what was going on, because Brother Air was inspired that there was like, it was a young brother, there's a couple other folks that were really interested in the diet, and he'd been into it for years. And it's not every day that somebody comes along that really gets it, that wants to be into it. And so he was inspired by just having some people around that was interested in it. And we were obviously getting inspired by his fast. And so it became that type of vibration. Then, so I ended up doing my first 6.5 month fast. And I ended up doing, for 3 years in a row, I did 6-month fasts. And just that entire period, because when you talk about like a life-changing period, I mean, that was just such a life-changing period for me, because it solidified so much for me in terms of physiology, nutrition, concepts, and just everything. It was like, and then in the 4th year, I did the 6 months for those 3 years, and then the 4th year, I did a 4-month fast. And then after that, it was kind of like, okay, well, now I'm working on some other stuff. Now I need to, physiologically, I'm starting to move into where I'm doing more eating nothing but fruit and doing more kind of mono fruit dieting. And, so it was changing it up a bit, because I had already did the long liquid diets, but so. And the one challenge with the long fast is I often don't talk about them, but because then other people want to do them, and and I don't recommend long fast, for in general for people. It's the kind of thing that you have to know that that's what you need to do, and you feel it, and right. It comes from within, where you're like, yeah, it's just time to fast, and the fasting process is just so powerful, because it has the ability to kind of take everything away. I mean, it'll take any obstacles in your way, but as it takes obstacles out of the way, it's also taking like just all forms of obstruction, things that you might have thought you used to like. Now you don't like them no more. There it goes, and that's where your attachments get really tested, because if you got attachments to things and concepts and ideas and stuff, all that stuff is going to be challenged in a way, at least the path I took, in kind of the intensity of what like the Mucusless diet does, if you stay on that and you keep rolling with it, it starts really taking you into these other realms, that really are kind of hard to talk about. Me and Tony sometimes try to talk about it because he's been talking about some of the experiences that he's going through now, and it reminds me of that period in my own transition. And it gets to a point where you're having daily revelations. Like every day you're getting to a point where it's like these aha moments that just don't stop. You're just having a new one like every it can get crazy where you're having one every half hour or something. You're just sitting there meditating, and it's like, oh, whoa, you're just putting all this stuff together, and it's and it can be a real fascinating kind of process. So I guess let's let Tony in on the conversation and let you you can give a little background on yourself for everybody that might not know you.
Yeah, greetings, Spira and Nutritional Healing. First of all, I'm happy to be on here, talking with both of you, and this is part of my growth, having a better circle of people to connect to. Well, my journey kind of began with my father being schizophrenic, and the household was kind of chaotic. There was lots of pretty much I saw craziness before I saw saneness, is how I often tell people. Like, because when I was born was just about the time that my father's schizophrenia really started. So from 1 to 5 was like full-blown schizophrenia in my environment as a child. Then, my mother was working 3 jobs. There's 2 of us, me and my sister. So we were getting by like how most people getting by, milk and cereal, cheese sandwiches, all that stuff. And I had the characteristic mucus and pus. Every morning when I woke, I would sneeze just mucus, out my nose. And that was like a joke in my family. Like, I couldn't get to school in the morning without sneeze amounts of mucus. And, I had like ears and stuff like that. And so that was kind of like childhood, but I was very active, always skinny child. Then also every Saturday we would have a family dinner with my uncle and grandmother. And, I would actually relish in eating animals as much as possible, sucking on the bones of dead animals, eating the marrow, lamb, pork, chicken, ham, and all that was a regular on those Saturday dinners. Then my sister actually became a vegetarian at like 15 or 16. So I was like 10 years old, 11 years old. And she didn't really know like what she was doing. She would, she just stopped eating meat, but she would eat like large amounts of dairy, not really eating large amounts of fruits and veggies. So I knew what vegetarianism was, but I don't have a clear memory of it, like really tapping into the concept. Then when I was about 15 or 16, I started having some serious ailments in my knees, as well as getting mono, viral meningitis. I was in the hospital for possible sleep. Where you might stop breathing at night. I was having
Well, that's sleep
possible
apnea.
symptoms with that.
That's what I had.
Yeah, sleep apnea.
One of the things I had.
Yeah, so I remember spending nights in the hospital with all these cords on me, you know, seeing if I stopped breathing.
Right.
And that's pretty much like you're on the edge of death. You know what I mean? If you're going to stop breathing at night, that means you're going to almost stop living at night. So, and then straight after that got mono, straight after that got viral meningitis, I got a spinal tap, you know, and then, so I had these bad knees all through like high school, and I went to physical therapy, and I was about 16, and at the same time, I started doing all the stuff that teens do, you know, trying to go to parties, smoking, drinking, everything you can do as a degenerate, you know. It's like that's the age where it's like, do everything bad possible, you know, like smoke, drink, eat McDonald's milkshakes. And so I started going to this physical therapy. And at the same time, I actually started like reading the Bible because I've always been like spiritually inclined, but my family's non-religious. So I was just checking out the Bible, and I started meditating and stretching a lot. And the stretching came to me naturally, actually. The meditation I learned, but I had this experience where it was like stretching my body made me feel really good. So, you know, so I started stretching, and then I went to physical therapy, and they were not doing nothing. They were like, you know, do this simple little stretch. And I was like, I do that every night. I was like, what about diet? What about like yoga? What about something more serious? And so I started telling my mom, like, you know, we're wasting money. They're not doing nothing that I'm not doing. So that led me up to like 17, 18. I started getting really interested in like Rastafari through reggae music. And, you know, they have the Ito, the vegetarian piece. And so I was reading a Rasta book, and here was a Rasta saying, I don't kill anything. I love life so much that I can't. And I was like, whoa, you know, that's beautiful. You know, I was like, that's a kind of positivity that I want to tap into. So that kind of clicked me on to the vegetarian thing through this old Rasta interview in this book. So I started getting, at that time, I started getting all these Dr. Africa books, learning about Queen Afua, and just started tapping into the health community. Started becoming vegetarian. This was like 7 years ago now. So 7 years ago, I became a vegetarian. I was like 18 or 19, I believe. Yeah. And a year later, I took out the dairy. And what I found was that my knees stopped hurting. But I didn't need to do stretches to have my knees stop hurting. So I realized, like, this is food related. So it was like, instead of doing stretches to make up for my diet, I started having a diet that actually worked with the stretches and did something different. So then I got into like more yoga. I had left that the Bible piece a long time ago. Then I had read the Quran, and then that led me into reading like the Bhagavad Gita, book, Diary of a Yoga by Yogananda.
Yeah, autobiography
and,
of a yogi. Yeah,
autobiography of a yogi. And so I was vegan now, reading this book, and I came across a section about a breatharian, you know, a person who was not eating. And then I came across the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Ehret, and he's talking about your first food is air. Your first food is air. And your secondary food is fruits and vegetables. And then, you know, he talks about mucus and pus forming foods are really not foods. And the difference is that he gave a system where you could actually expand your period of air breathing, pretty much. Like by cleaning yourself up, you could go longer in between your meals, pretty much. And it was like you were living more on air. And he was teaching that the more you clean yourself, the higher your energy is going to be. And I was like, okay, you know, I can see what this is rationally. And so I started doing some things. I did like a month on fruit. And even before that month on fruit, I started eating like really big salads and doing enemas every night. And I started seeing stuff coming out of me that was like years old. Like I could tell this feces that was coming out of me was not yesterday's meal. This was like old stuff. And I immediately started having more and more energy. And then I did a month on fruit. And then I had already tapped into Professor Spira and was learning about the transitional diet. And pretty much that's what I'm on right now. I'm just transitioning. And all I know is that whenever I've like ate the least, I've actually had the highest amounts of energy. And so like any point in my life where I was eating the least amount of fruits, that was the day that I had the most energy, pretty much. And that's got me to where I am now, where it's like I'm always looking to go higher on that, because it just gets better and better, you know. And spiritually, mentally, it's just been an awakening that just keeps on coming. And the last part that I want to say about my journey is I've always looked to be involved in the betterment of African people, of Black people. And I've joined organizations, I've been a part of different movements, and I would link with these brothers and sisters, and it was like during the day they were these progressive people, and during the night they were like, let's go to the bar, let's hook up with all these chicks, let's go to McDonald's in between protests, let's go to McDonald's. And that
Go to me.
there wasn't even right.
I'm sorry to cut you off, brother, but it's like suicide to me. Like, go to McDonald's.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
this is not good. We have to do better.
Right.
We have to
Right.
do better.
Yeah, we gotta do better than that.
In my-
Most def.
Right.
I'm sorry,
So
I
in
had
my
to out-
journey.
Yeah.
So basically, in my journey, that was like the nail in the coffin as far as that whole side of Black progress. You know what I mean? And then that brought me over to like, okay, I need to find movements that engage health as a serious aspect of Black liberation. You know. So that's gotten me to where I am now, where it's like, this thing is not just for me, it's for the betterment of, you know, humanity.
Yeah, that's what's up. Well, let's stick to that topic, because I want to ask nutritional healing, because I know you seen some of your videos on your channel where you kind of going out in the community with the brothers and the sisters, and doing your lectures and kind of talking to them. So tell me, because sometimes me and Tony talked about this. Sometimes it's a challenge, man. It can definitely be a challenge trying to relay this level of health and diet information sort of to the community. So I want to hear from you. What do you think is kind of the best way to do it? What are the challenges? What's kind of the hardest thing about relating this level of dietary discussion to the brothers and sisters? Just kind of what's your experience been?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna speak from experience because I deal with lots of people that is starting from scratch. And what I mean by starting from scratch is those people that basically are eating the McDonald's, are eating the fast foods, but want to go into a healthier lifestyle but can't. So what I tell these particular people that comes through my path, I say, listen, you have to be patient with yourself. This is a lifestyle. This is not just after you finish seeing results, healthy results in your life, you feel better, you look better, and you know that you're better, you go back to eating unhealthy. You have to be patient with yourself. You have to incorporate the healthy eating little by little, until you have fully got off of the toxic and acid food. The reason I come to the conclusion that the reason for most of us it's hard for us to be on a healthy diet holistically and collectively is because we have been predisposed to this particular types of food. Ever since we were in our mother's womb, all of us, because we all come from a woman, ever since we was in our mother's womb, she has been practicing improper food combination. She has been eating flesh. She has been eating dairy. So this is what your DNA is addicted to. This is what your DNA basically is immune to. So when you're hungry or you're looking for food or you're looking for nutrition, because you have been genetically predisposed to unhealthy eating, automatically your brain is going to send that signal and say, listen, why don't you eat some chicken? Why don't you eat some beef? Why don't you eat this? Why don't you eat that? So with that being said, understand that it's a challenge only because you have been predisposed to it, but there is a way. If you yourself would like to change, you have to make a change because you want to make the change. Do not make a change because somebody else encourage you or telling you or is forcing you, because if that's the reason why you're making these changes, you're not going to be successful. You see, you're not going to be successful. You have to first, if I always tell my clients, listen, what are the fruits or what are the vegetables that you like the best? What are your best fruits? What are your best vegetables? And they say, okay, well, I like apples or I like bananas. All right, well, incorporate that more into your diet. Instead of having candy or artificial sugar, why don't you have some fruits? Substitute that artificial sugar for that natural sugar. You see, right. and as a result of taking in that natural sugar, that it turns into a form of, the simplest form of sugar is glucose. Glucose then turns into what is known as ATP. ATP is what is needed for our cellular structure for energy levels, you see. So if you are eating natural sugars and Professor Spira, you mentioned, being a fruitarian or being on this fruit fast. The importance of that is that by nature or by genetic law, we are fruitarians. By genetic law, genetically, we are fruitarians. I say this because if you go all around the world, you go to the Caribbean, you go to different parts of Africa, no matter what it is, you will see wild fruits, different types of fruits growing naturally. They don't even need you to come and take care of it. And why? Because nature is growing these fruits naturally. Why? Because these fruits are our natural diet, because we are indigenous natural people that has been living here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You see?
Yeah.
So so instead of, having that, artificial sugar, get back to eating the fruits as, for your sweets, for people that, have a sweet tooth. For those that, want to, get off the starch, I always recommend grains. Eliminate the rice, rather it's white rice or brown rice. People say, oh, brown rice is healthier. What's the difference? What is the difference?
Right. Yeah, you can make glue out of both of them.
Right, regardless to if it's white rice, if it's brown rice, if it's yellow rice, it's still rice. It still contains starch, and it still contains what is known as arsenic. Arsenic is very toxic to the body. It forms free radical cells. Free radical cells are those that basically damage your healthy cells, to not go too deep into what that is. It basically, it basically attacks your healthy cells. Free radical cells basically attacks your healthy cells. Where do you get that from? You get that from these foods that are not compatible and not nutritional to your body.
Right. And
say that again.
Well, I was going to add, and then from kind of the Mucusless diet perspective, like the primary focus there is sort of obstruction, where it's uneliminated, undigestible, unnatural food substances that get in your intestines, stay there because you're constipated, and you people have like one bowel movement a day. I hope they do. Hope people are still having one bowel movement a day. I know a lot of people don't, but then that's not enough. But for the people that have like one real constipated sort of hard bowel movement a day, all that stuff that they're putting in, especially the stuff like the rice and then the other mucus-forming foods, it stays in there. And then what does it do? And this is kind of analysis that I'm real interested in, where if you can imagine somebody's intestine and it's backed up, at a certain point the body is going to try to do something with that waste, and if it can't go out the way it's supposed to go out, it's like it starts to absorb into the tissue system. So now the actual organism is becoming so encumbered with this excess mucousy, nasty, acidic waste substance, and so that is kind of happened to Tony. So so that sort of becomes like a piece that I was just gonna add that into kind of what you were saying in terms of the rice, because I don't hear that analysis as much, sometimes, of the obstruction part of it. That's kind of where Eric's coming from, where the physiological obstruction is the fundamental cause of all human illness. And a lot of the stuff, when you talk about like the pus forming foods, the meat and the dairy and the stuff, and they turn into this uric acid, and then these that uric acid is and just any of the acids that are up in the body from unnatural foods start to destroy cells and mutate things, and it just starts getting crazy. But it's all part of like the systematic clogging up from just eating all of these terrible things,
And that's what is known as the systematic clogging up, is also known as constipation.
There you go.
So a lot of us, right? A lot of us believe, constipation is just not, moving, a bowel movement. No.
Yeah.
Right.
Constipation is a holistic clogging up of the whole entire system.
Yeah.
Just as Professor Arnold E. Rett stated. And he also states that he also breaks down the difference between someone as a vegetarian and someone that eats meat. He says that a vegetarian is more sicker than someone that eats meat. Why? Because a vegetarian will go more so on the bready and starchy food. And as you and as you just mentioned, the starch is what basically causes obstruction in the body. Uric acid comes from what? The meat, true, but that's easily able to pass out through the urinary system, et cetera, et cetera. But what happens when this starch begins to? We have to understand the analogy or the anatomy of the colon. Okay, what happens when the starch begins to build up within the colon, or these undigested, uneliminated foods begin to build up in the structure of the colon? That obstruction within the whole entire system, because the colon is the basement of the whole digestive tract. So now, as a result of a buildup of the whole digestive tract, starting from the basement, and like you said, it will go into the tissues. Now, what happens when the tissues can't take it anymore? It seeps into the bloodstream. So now, what happens when it seeps into the bloodstream? It goes around the whole system. Going back to what we're saying is a whole clog up of the whole entire system.
Right.
Right.
Well,
so it's real key that as we begin to go into a healthier lifestyle or even a transition of lifestyle, we know what specific categories or food categories that we're getting into and how it affects the body. You see, you mentioned something that was very important when you were speaking about fasting. A lot of people, and I read this in the Professor Arnold Erect, because I read his book like 3 or 4 times. The Mucusless Diet, as a matter of fact, I have right here. Can you see that here? This is like my night book.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
Yep.
Right.
Can you see it good? And and rational fasting. Rational fasting I read twice. But in the Mucusless Diet, and Healing System, he says, listen, people frown at the topic of fasting. Why? Because after 3 or 4 days of fasting, the toxins is coming out of your tissue so strongly that you become weak. And as a result of you becoming weak, you say, oh, I need to eat. But the things that you're eating, okay, is the same thing that's causing this destruction. And it suppresses your body from naturally healing itself, because fasting is a natural way of healing itself. I can prove it to you. When a lion or a gorilla or anyone or any animal that's in the animal kingdom is sick or ill, what do? Fast.
Right.
So
fast,
my point here is that when you have lots of toxins and backed up waste that's built up in your tissues, and you just stop the eating process, all of that naturally your body is going to eliminate that, and is going to bring that into the bloodstream, and you may become weak, you may become very dehydrated, you may not even come out your bed. But do not blame the system of fasting for it. Just understand and know that this is what's going to happen when you are ill.
Right. And that's why Eric emphasized, in fasting and really just in general for the diet, the enemas, because that is the point where when you start getting it and what you're talking about, those poisons start moving around and everything is starting to circulate, it is crucial to be irrigating your colon and just getting this stuff out of there, because then it don't start recirculating and that kind of thing.
And that's what the greens do. When you eat the greens, it pushes stuff through your colon. So when you're fasting, all that waste inside of you starts to break down more, and like you said, it's entering your bloodstream. What cleans the blood is actually the fruit sugars, and what cleans the colon is actually the greens. So if I'm having an upset stomach or something, if I'm not fasting, I eat a lot of greens, and I let that push through a lot of waste so I can have a bowel movement that pushes that waste through, and you immediately feel better. And so, there's certain tactics you can use when you start getting weak, like eat some fruit or have a large salad. We so often mistake what the cravings are, and we start eating, like you said, the starches and stuff that makes it even worse.
And that becomes the whole, and that's the reason why Eric really focuses on, it's kind of like, okay, he set the world record at that time for 49-day water fast, and it did about 100 days within a short period of time. But he said he didn't say to do long fast. He was saying do short-term fast, and get in that process of learning how to transition in and out of short-term fast. First, you just kind of master that process, because within those first 2 or 3 days, that's when your weaknesses come to the surface and you can feel it and see those eliminations. And like Tony was saying, you don't get into that situation where you end up having this uncontrollable urge to go binge on some nonsense. And I've seen a lot of people, that happens. A lot of people, especially ones, if they try to do these, like the cleanses, where the master cleanse or the 21-day detox day, fast or whatever. Just anything that sort of sounds like a gimmick in that type of like with these like period of time that's already set forth. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of like, no, that ain't, and I've seen a lot of those people crash and burn because they didn't apply the system. They just basically went from McDonald's and they're like, okay, we're going to do master cleanse for 2 weeks. And then sometimes they're able to go through it and they're okay, but then they still go back to their old diet, because they never had the intention of actually changing their lifestyle. But that's a crucial thing. Now, do you talk nutritional healing? Do you talk with the brothers and sisters about like how deep do you go? Are you able to get into the enemas and stuff, or does that like turn everybody off? Or are you able to kind of like what are the things that you're able to sort of talk about?
Do you ever wake up in the morning feeling bad? I mean really bad? Blowing your nose and coughing up green slime bad? What if I told you that the foods you eat are causing mucus to back up in your body? The good news is this waste can be eliminated naturally. Discover the simplest and most powerful natural lifestyle secret that has improved the lives of thousands. Professor Arnold Ehret's Mucusless Diet Healing System, annotated, revised, and edited by Professor Spira, is a complete course for those who desire to take their health into their own hands. You will learn how to naturally get rid of that annoying stuffy nose, soothe your nasty cough, melt away unwanted body fat, prevent dangerous health issues, and heal yourself of painful illnesses. Where are my real brothers and sisters at? You think you're hard? You think you're a revolutionary? Then you got to be talking about health. Learning to control what you put into your mouth is the most revolutionary thing you can do. Check out the book that inspired Dr. Sebi, Lila Africa, and many others. Visit www.mucus-free-life.com/revised-mucusless-diet to get your copy today while supplies last.